IVM.
Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Uncle Please Sit. My name is Joel Pereira. With me as always is my co-host and buddy Tushar Abhichandani. Tushar, what's up?
What's happening, buddy? What's happening? How's it going?
Nothing. The same conversation that we've had over the past since March. We had
now the audience can assume the first 1 minute. So let's just introduce our guest.
So f*** it. Let's just jump straight to guest. Again, we have a really special, fun guest with us today, and this is also one of our close personal friends. His name is Jaison Lewis. He's a tech journalist. He's been a tech journalist for 20 years, Jaison?
Yeah, I think a little around.
Currently a tech columnist.
Sorry.
It's okay. You can say those words. We will just beep them out.
Finish your intro. He's also he's a tech columnist and a reviewer for the midday newspaper. And as he asked me to describe him, Vashi ka chhawa.
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
For listeners not from Bombay, Vashi is like South Delhi of New Bombay. The fact that I have to qualify it so much just should tell you everything.
Vashi is the South.
Also, I am not shading on New Bombay, by the way, because I am also from New Bombay.
Yeah, you live 100 meters away from, not 100 meters, maybe a little more, but still.
No, not that close. We are emotionally that close, but yeah.
So as you could have guessed, this week our show is about tech, more specifically about gaming. I think when they talk about the year 2020, 10 years from now, everyone will be like, that's the year that everyone started gaming really earnestly. Yeah. Because I don't game. Okay, I haven't gamed since 15, almost 16, 17 years ago when we were in college and we used to play Counter-Strike. And I don't game at all, right? And I started gaming in 2020. I mean, not seriously, but all your mobile gaming, etc., etc. Tushar, you game, right? A fair bit.
Yeah. I've actually started gaming a fair bit this year. But that's the thing, right? As we said, this is the year that's going to define the way sort of gaming in many ways transformed for a lot of people. And the topic actually is related to that in the sense that what we're going to be talking about today is why is it that so many people still look at gaming as this frivolous time pass thing, whereas it has evolved into something much more. This is exactly what we're discussing right after the break.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to an awesome, amazing, incredible week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please do. Why aren't you? You should. It's absolutely essential that you do. It's IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Another fun week in the books last week, and I think you guys should definitely check out some of the shows that we did. So first, let me tell you about Cock and Bull. We did 2 Cock and Bulls on Cyrus Says last week, which is, I don't think we've ever done before. But there was just so much to talk about, and it was fun. The first one was just on Trish, myself, and Cyrus. The second one, we had Abhijit Ganguly on, and that was a great episode. Do check that out. Check out Know Your Kanun as well. It's been a while since I spoke about that show, but Umber's been doing a great job on it. This week he spoke to Naina Sharma, a Canadian lawyer, about the ways that you do business in Canada and the challenges that presents. Definitely very interesting stuff. Do check that out. The guys at Naan Curry are doing some really, really fun stuff. Do check out their latest episode. They talk about roti, the simple bread, but it's got some complications to it. Let them tell you about what they are. Do check that out. Also, do definitely check out the Wire Talks with Siddharth Bhatia. He's been killing it, man. It's just a new show, but what great conversations. This week, he had Siddharth Singh on to talk about pollution. Do check that out. And you know what, guys? The best news of all, Simplified is back. They've been back for a few weeks and I haven't called them out before, but remember that they're back and do check them out. This week, they talk about, does censorship make sense? Knowing the guys, I think I know the answer to that, but you should go check that out. And with that, let's go back to your show.
And we're back. Today we're with Jaison Lewis, who's a tech journalist and also a tech columnist for the Midday. And we're talking about gaming, right? We're talking about how 2 aspects of gaming. One is that even though it's so mainstream now, it's still looked at as this kind of frivolous thing, kind of like what children do, kind of like time pass, time killer type situation, while also simultaneously maintaining our sanity throughout 2020. right? I mean, like, this year has been, I think more people have gamed in this year. I was reading somewhere about the crazy increase in gaming statistics from this year.
Yeah,
especially online.
so yeah, a lot of consoles and even controllers are out of stock right now because of the sudden boom in gaming. Right?
Yeah, because if you're sitting around at home and doing that with nothing to do, then that's what you're doing, right? I mean, like, I was not, like I was saying before the break, I was not that much of a gamer per se. I think I stand alone in this in among my circle of friends, because I think everyone I know is quite dedicated to gaming. Tushar, you were saying you started.
So I've been playing random online games for a while. I bought a console for the first time this year. The interesting thing is, I bought a console. I'm like, wait, you're buying a console? Why? What does someone in their 30s have to do with a console? Because the idea is that video game hai to bacche hi khelenge. People don't realize how incredibly games have evolved to the point where they are so interesting. It's like watching an epic movie, an epic series, plus having an active role in how it plays out, like all in one. So it's one of the coolest things. And I'm like, I keep thinking to myself, like, why the hell did I not start this like 10 years ago?
Also, if you think about it, a lot of games are not made for kids anymore. Most games.
I would not.
Most games you wouldn't give kids to play right now.
Yeah, like what kid would you want to play like Last of Us?
Yeah, or Assassin's Creed for that matter, or any. Yeah.
I mean,
even back in the day, I remember the first few games that we got introduced to, at least, were the PC games, right? Like, we were playing Doom, we were playing Quake, we were playing Unreal Tournament, we were playing Counter-Strike, and a large portion or large part of that game was basically killing your opponent and shooting him in the head. There is no, like, I remember, I mean, Jason and me also, I think we met, like we were talking about during the break, we met for the very first time at a gaming, what were those called? Yeah, those gaming cyber.
Gaming parlor, basically a gaming cyber cafe only, I think.
They were cyber cafes, no?
Okay.
Cyber cafes
and we were taking part in a Counter-Strike competition, and I think you were part of my team. And we had met for the very first time that time.
I think this had happened a lot with those Reliance ka.
No, this was way before. This was way before.
This was even before that. And I have to bring it to everyone's attention that at that time, I remember the team name was CYA, okay, which stood for Counter Your Ass. And me, in what was not definitely one of my proud moments from my youth, named myself, my handle was the Womb Raider.
Oh yeah, I remember that shit.
Because I thought
you sound like a doctor who conducts abortion.
I know, because I was like, what a mind I have, how to come up with this. Womb Raider.
Listen,
like, it's gaming related.
Mine was definitely worse. It was Jai Master.
Yeah, yours Jai Master.
Jai Master. Also, I'm sorry, Joel, the irony of a Catholic man being named Womb Raider.
No, like I said, it's one of those things which you thought was very cool when you were 20 years old or 19 years old, as I was at that time, which you realize, it's like literally one of those facepalm moments when you grow up. You're like, what was I thinking?
Like, what was I thinking? I mean, that's all of our emails are like that. So, yeah,
first email addresses, no? So, anyway, yeah. So, okay, Jason, give us a sense of perspective, man. How big is gaming, like,
And yeah, how much has it evolved?
First of all, let's just set a context. How big is it right now? How big is gaming?
Yeah, so apparently this was a last year KPMG study. There are 22.2 crore gamers in India. That's 22.2 crores, okay? Obviously,
just to give context, this includes people who
These are people who play on their phone. See, you cannot include just console and PC gamers in India, because that's a very, very, very small component of gaming in India.
Compared to digital online,
it has to do a lot with affluence. Like, you probably see console and PC gamers more in the metro areas, and a lot less of this, these sort of pockets in the tier B, tier C cities. You'll not see that many console and PC gamers.
Before we go that far, like in preparation for this podcast, I was reading about gaming, and I came across a fact that I didn't know is that for over the last 10 years, not just this year, over the last 10 years, the gaming industry has been bigger than the film industry, and we're talking about globally, okay? The film industry and the global music industry by a factor of like, I think 30 to 40%. So if you include the global film industry, like Hollywood, Bollywood, Tollywood, Mollywood, all the woods, and then you include the entire music industry plus Daljit Dosanjh and his like hundreds of millions of views on YouTube, it's still less than gaming, which is something that my mind was blown by, because what I was thinking is that you're represented by the amount of the economic weight that you have, right? Because like you have film stars and music stars and so on and so forth, YouTube influencers. How is it that how is this something that we don't know?
No,
how massive it is?
Actually, I think a lot of people do know, but probably I'm speaking from a global sense of the thing. In India, basically people still consider it as not a profession. There's a lot of we're still into the very traditional profession of being a doctor, being an engineer, and being all this things that in the real world doesn't really matter at this point.
Right.
Everybody's on a little cusp of everything else. The thing with gaming is it's a very creative industry, and for us, we don't consider that a career. Anything to do with creatives, you will not have your parents saying, "Bacha, go do it. Go explore this shit." Your parents are going to say, "You know what? You become an engineer, and then after you finish engineering, you do whatever the fuck you want to do." Right?
That is true for most things, though. No?
Yeah, exactly.
Jason, will you do that to your kids also?
No.
Okay, so again, like
but so also I think one more aspect here is that I think one of the reasons that people don't realize that gaming is bigger than movies is because movies have very clear sort of representatives, right? You have a Tom Cruise, you have a Shah Rukh Khan, you have a Brad Pitt. They're all over the media all the time, which is why you think the media industry is generally perceived to be bigger than it is anyway.
So that has to do a lot with media also,
gaming,
right?
Yeah, as opposed to gaming, where you have gaming titles, but you don't have people sort of as brand ambassadors.
So
of those
that's
games,
not
right?
true anymore in the international sense, right? You have people like Ninja.
No, I know there are streams, and I know there are people who individually endorse games, but like a Tom Cruise is like an actor in Hollywood who's out there.
So that way, Ninjas also play a guy who plays Fortnite. I mean,
No,
I know there are popular esports gamers, but even in the West, I'm sure they're not as popular
Didn't
PewDiePie
become famous by just commenting on gaming streams?
Yeah.
No, I think
it was initially that. It started out with.
It was initially that, yeah.
Yeah.
It was initially.
So I think but in the sense, like there's the brand of it, the glamour of it. There is a disproportionately large image.
There are a few gamers in India who are making a name for themselves. It's not that there aren't people who are making this their career. Like I think there's this guy called Dynamo who has 9 million subscribers almost. Okay.
But if in that context, random Bollywood stars have 20 million. Like not even the big ones.
But I mean, this guy hasn't created a game. He's not starring in a game. He's just playing a game.
I know. No, I get this. I know this phenomenon. I think 10 years down the line, this is going to be so big that it's going to like dwarf a lot of the film guys. But I feel like right now it's still the film guys and like the media guys who are bigger, obviously, because of disproportionate representation and just individual level representation.
Yeah, it's just media. It's media actually.
I think the perception.
Also, we've had it for 100 years.
Huh?
I think what the perception of gaming is very different for a lot of people, right? Like for instance, when someone thinks of what is gaming, they are mostly thinking of like some guy with a console in his hand, or like sitting and playing one of those console games. But that is not true, right? Like for instance, what's the breakup? Yeah, like in India, what are people playing games on? Like digital games?
Mobile phones, mostly mobile phones. I think probably 90% of this market is mobile phones and nothing else, right? the very fact that are affordable and you're seeing them in lower tier cities also means that so many people have access to these games. Most of these games are free to play, right? So I mean, it's just so much easier to get into gaming right now than it ever was before. I mean, if you remember when you were a kid, you probably would have to go to somebody's house who was fucking rich, and you'd have to go and say, "Mere ko khelne de na tere saath." You know, you didn't have a fucking console at your house.
Yeah.
Okay. I for certain did not have a console at my house. I think I got a PC when I finished my school. Okay. And before I had video games only on other people's computers and consoles because my parents wouldn't buy me one. But that is not the fact anymore, right? I mean, your phone is a console right now. You can basically, people can start gaming much earlier. You have exposure to more games.
Yeah.
That is a huge difference in the last few years.
Yes, the one thing that I noticed was I remember, and this is post 2017, especially like post, like the broadband boom or 4G or broadband boom that we've had over the last 2-3 years. I remember noticing this in trains since 2018 and in 2019. I have never been on a train ride where I have not seen someone play Ludo. Like on a Mumbai local train, someone is always playing Ludo on their phones.
That's true.
I wouldn't see this. You wouldn't see this in 2015 or 2016. You see this now all the time.
So the guy who makes Ludo King basically, again New Bombay guy.
Vashi.
CBD actually.
One sec, Ludo King is local?
Yes, Ludo King is CBD.
Belapur.
CBD, Belapur.
Why did I think that it was some Chinese thing?
No, it's a local.
Because we assume that all big things are Chinese.
And it's huge. This guy has made a freaking company around this one game. Right? He's earning a shit ton of money just through this game.
Yeah.
Okay. I think Ludo's still huge. It's not as huge as it was probably a year back. But it's still, a very, very popular game in India and internationally also.
Yeah.
So no, Ludo. I got into Ludo this year. Yeah, you're saying it was not as big as it used to be, but yeah, I got into Ludo with this pandemic only. Because
you are a late adopter, na Baba.
Considering that we were not doing things with our friends like meeting and drinking whiskey and eating kebabs and all like we do, like grown people do. We had to sit around and play Ludo.
Yeah, everyone was doing this, right? Video calls plus Ludo together. So you could trash talk each other while playing Ludo online.
Yeah. I tried doing that with y'all, I remember once. Not very successfully.
Yeah, we failed.
So what is the break? So then if consoles are obviously our consoles, then the cutting edge of gaming?
Never. Consoles are never the cutting edge of gaming. Consoles, the PC is always going to be cutting edge of gaming because you're always going to be able to upgrade your PC as long as you have money.
One sec. Let's break it down. So you have PC gaming.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Give me some like game titles that people are playing on PC.
So the same as console games.
The games available are almost similar. But the quality that you're playing at is a lot different. Okay. Because
so there's PC gaming, there's console gaming, there's mobile gaming.
Yes.
Mobile, when I say mobile, I mean tablets plus phones.
Mostly smartphones, but okay.
Okay, and then those little devices, like your Switch and stuff. I think there's only one device, right?
Yeah,
right
but again,
now?
those can be put in consoles as well because you don't have that many. Switch officially does not sell in India. Though it is one of the bigger selling consoles in India, they don't officially sell here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Nintendo hasn't been here since Samurai.
Yeah, so even the Wii was sort of, people bought it off of the grey market.
The grey market is huge in India.
The Nintendo Wii.
Even right now, with the consoles out, there aren't enough consoles in the market, but we have a lot of grey consoles selling for ridiculous amounts of money.
Yeah.
Like I think the PS5 is selling for $1 lakh. And
seriously?
Yes.
It's not out here yet, no, properly.
It's not out here. It's not out here yet, properly.
It's not out in India. It's out in other countries.
But it's selling for about $1 lakh right now over here, which is crazy.
Yeah. So console gaming is not the cutting edge of gaming.
Never is. Yeah.
Okay. Why is that?
So consoles is not a leap in technology as such. What it does usually is it'll get the best of whatever is available right now. So they used to try leaps in technology earlier, but right now what it is they will take a certain configuration and optimize it. Okay. So it will be able to play like games of a high quality for a very, very long time. Console's life is about 5 to 6 years. Okay. Before a new console comes out. So when you're investing in a console, first of all, you're buying a console for much cheaper than a PC. An equivalent PC will cost you at least double, not 75% more. Okay. For that kind of performance. But here you're getting, so you're getting a Xbox Series X right now for 50,000. You want to buy a PC that performs that way, you're probably spending $1.5 lakh. Okay, so that's the advantage of a console. But that console's not going to change for 5 years. Okay, so right now PC matches that console at 1.5 lakhs, but in 5 years, your PC of probably 30,000 will match what that console is doing at that point. Okay, and at the same time, you'll probably have another console coming in. So it makes sense for people to buy consoles if you're say into gaming, but you don't want to spend on a PC, right? PCs are expensive, and you have to continuously upgrade them to stay on the cutting edge.
Yeah, and the games also, and because smartphones, at least to the way I see it, have this reputation of being a little like cheesy and basic. Like
that's not true. That's not true. Okay. So you have very, very serious games on phones as well. It's just that the requirements that a phone has. I mean, the amount of performance a phone can extract is very limited. Okay, so your games are limited in that sense. But then you have gaming specific phones also, which are very cheap compared to other phones. Probably, I think you can pick up a ROG 3 phone for about 50,000 with crazy specs. But again, you can't compare that to a console. You cannot.
Okay. Now you've been talking about like prices of like you've been using like words like lakh and etc. And I was just wondering, like, so it is expensive. It's expensive to access, right? I mean,
so that's the difference, right? That's what makes the difference in the adoption. So so PC gaming, you'll have a very limited amount of people who are going to spend that kind of money just to game on a PC. Okay. They're very, very high level enthusiasts who will like throw that money in there. Then second comes the consoles. Consoles are still expensive because you have to realize that the console only does one thing. It's not going to be your phone. You can't make calls on it. You can't use it as a computer. You have to be willing to spend 50,000 just to buy something to game. Okay. So I mean that's again, these are all things that will happen in metro cities, and you will not have it happening in the lower tier cities. On the other hand, much smaller proportions. As you go into a poorer section of society, you're going to see it less and less and less. Okay. Whereas phones, even your 15,000 phone can play PUBG. Okay. Even your 20,000 phone can play PUBG. And
no, Jason, no one can play PUBG.
No one can play PUBG.
Hello, PUBG is coming back. Sorry.
It is, yes. But as
of right now, you can play 4G, which is also not out.
26th November, when we're recording this episode, nobody can. They can play 4G. But go on.
So, I mean, that's how it is divided. It is affluence and how much money you have. Where it depends on where you land with your gaming. That will decide where you're going to land. It's not just the fact that you wanting to spend that kind of money. It's also the amount of money that you have.
So why do you think like gaming gets the kind of sort of slack that it does as a pastime or a waste of time?
I think this has to do a lot with what we see. We as a society tend to say that this is not making money, so this is time pass. So you paint great, but you know what? I don't know if you can actually make money out of this. So why don't you concentrate on doing what you can make money out of?
No. Forget even the money
But
angle.
that is
like,
but
for
that is
example,
the
at
angle for
least
us,
with,
right?
No, I'm saying, like, even for example, you look at other things like watching a film or listening to music or whatever. That's still not considered. I mean, even though you're not making money there.
Yeah, but then see,
it's still not considered as bad as like.
Watching a film is cheap. Okay. In comparison, watching a film is cheap. You're doing it for 3 hours. You're not spending 16 hours on a movie. You're spending maximum 3 hours on a movie.
That's how long a game takes, right? 16 hours, 18 hours.
So it depends on the game. You can play 16 hours. I mean, for example, the new Assassin's Creed takes more than 40, maybe 60 hours also. Okay.
Or if you're playing FIFA, you can play.
FIFA you can play endless hours. It depends on the game, right? And it depends on who you're playing it with. So you're not spending that much time on a movie. You're not spending that much time on music. So okay, you like a CD, you'll buy a CD, or you buy the MP3, or you buy the the digital file, and you listen to it. That's it, right? It probably costed you, if you buy a service, it's $99, but it's $99 for a month, right? You can listen to music all the time for the $99. So it's not an expensive pastime. Okay. Whereas with games, it is not only taxing your wallet if you pay for it, it's also taxing your time.
Yeah.
So the idea is that parents feel that instead of spending X amount of hours gaming, this guy could be studying and making money in the future instead of like sitting and wasting his time with gaming. Because that's what my parents used to do. They're like all parents, and it's a very Indian attitude, right?
But also, do you think it's also because that it's considered a lower art form? People are ignorant. They don't realize how complex games have become.
So I don't think they realize that it's even an art form, or even if it's a skill.
That's true.
Okay, I think with things like music, painting, people recognize the skill, but actually playing a game really well also requires skill. Being that adaptive is a skill. Okay, imagine like if you had to solve so many problems in a day, as many as you solve in say a 10-hour gaming session. That's skill, dude. But the thing is, people who haven't played these games will never realize that it is a skill. People who have just played Candy Crush and say, "Oh, I just have to move this right." They cannot judge you for playing a 16-hour game.
And they don't realize that even Candy Crush is actually a certain form of problem solving.
It is. I'm not saying, I'm not like dissing Candy Crush or something, but
no. I'm saying I'm not saying you are. I'm saying like people don't realize. They look at it as like our time pass, or like, you're actually doing problem solving.
Because you have to think at least 4, 5, 6 moves ahead, right?
Yeah.
So but like for people, they don't playing these easy arcade games. You don't realize, it could be something that you are actually good at without realizing. Somebody could be better than you at this. So
sorry, I was just like, I was touched by your impassioned defense of gaming.
I spent gaming, dude. I've had a lot of flack for it. So.
No, but I'll ask you one thing, okay? So, earlier on we were talking about, we were comparing rather the video gaming industry or the gaming industry to films and music, and, as two very popular mediums for pop culture. And we were talking about how the gaming industry is so much larger than every one of them. But it is still possible. And, but the thing is that forget these things as a business, okay? They are business and they make billions or whatever. But it is undeniable that movies and films and music or books or whatever have an impact, right, on society. They change the way people dress or talk or sound or whatever. What do you think gaming has done as far as because now we've been gaming for a while now, for a fair amount of time.
Okay, so the thing with gaming right now is it's purely entertainment, unless you go into the indie games. Okay, so you want to see something that's truly touching, that's truly impactful, then you go into the indie gaming scene, where you have games like Dragon that Dragon that cancel or something like that. That Dragon cancel, that's what it's called. Okay, so that is that's a game made by these developers who lost a kid to cancer. Okay, and it's like a journey through that, through those very grief-filled moments with this child who they have lost to cancer. And it's done in a very beautiful way, and it really, really, impacts you on an emotional level. Okay, you will obviously not get that sort of impact from something like a GTA, because you're just going around killing people on the street, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the writing in gaming right now, I think they have not attracted the right talent for writing in gaming. So,
but even then, there are cultural markers coming out of gaming now, right?
Yeah,
like at least not in India, but outside. Like what was that chicken dinner? PUBG wala.
Winner
chicken dinner.
Yeah, winner chicken dinner.
It's become like this motto.
So, but see,
what I mean is like culturally, forget India. India, we are talking. Gaming is a global industry. There's no real limits on what you can buy or what you can game, wherever you can game, etc. So we're saying on a global level also, are there significant? Have there been any significant cultural impacts from gaming?
See, right now I don't think that there are, but see, the thing is just to grow, and you have to attract the right talent for these kind of things. I think even films, probably the first 2-3 decades of filming, I doubt you'd have some impactful stories there, right? I mean, there might have been, but they attract the sort of person who would write for that. Right now, what's happening right now is most of the writers, most of the people who are making these games are people who have grown up on films, like action films, and they try to get as much action and the sort of things that they want to see in a game. But very, very few games actually have a really deep storyline where there is a social impact, or where there are lines coming out that I can quote this line like that. That's not happening yet with gaming. That's true. Okay, but I think it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I mean, also considering the fact that the gaming industry, even in America, is maybe not more than 40
years
old.
Exactly. So it's still very nascent. I mean, things like "It's me, Mario." These are lines that stick with you.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of little lines like this that stick with you, but there's nothing impactful right now that you can say, oh my God, this thing just blew me away. Story-wise.
No, Martin, like for instance, maybe it's also the fact that like filmmaking, right, or music making with technology, like in the past, say about 10 years or so, we've seen the explosion of amateur filmmaking. Like for instance, I'm not even talking about Super 8 and people filming on Handycam and all. I'm talking about Vines. I'm talking about people like making videos on Instagram. I'm talking about Reels and Snapchat, etc., etc. Same thing with music also, right? You've got these karaoke apps and Dub Smash and so on and so forth, where the people who are consuming the content, or the people who are consuming the product, are also creating the product. Is that even possible for gaming?
To a certain extent, it is. I mean, for now, see, unless it's an indie game, most games are huge productions, right? I think, for an example, the upcoming game, Cyberpunk, it's got a budget of $314 million. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, that's Avengers Infinity budget. Okay, that's a huge budget. So you have so many people working on it. And that's not to say that those people are also not consumers of games. They are obviously gamers who are consuming other games at the same time while working on this game. So it's just a different impact. It's not like it's not easy to make a game. You have to study to make a game. You have to learn programming to make a game. Okay. So these are things that take time. You cannot just say, I made the small chotu, I made this game, check this out. And then that exchange does not happen right now.
I think in the gaming context, the content creation is happening in the form of streams and live plays and esports, where people are putting up their gameplay online. You can watch me play, which is ridiculously popular.
Yeah, it's ridiculously popular. And I mean, there are a lot of companies that are coming to India also right now. Or in the Twitch, not so big in India, but there are esports. There are esports companies coming into India right now. I mean, in the next 3-4 months, there will be esports companies coming into India, where you will have people coaching, other people to be better at their games, which is crazy. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. And obviously, COVID has played a little spoil sport of.
Yeah, there are professional leagues right now. Even there are FIFA leagues.
Yeah, in India also.
Actually making a living now.
Yes,
in India.
Yeah. I think again somewhere in New Bombay.
New Bombay,
as we have established, New Bombay is the gaming capital of India.
So somebody in New Bombay, I think, makes about $1 lakh a month from his gaming. That's his career: gaming, streaming, and gaming. Competitions and stuff. $1 lakh a month. That's not bad.
These two things, a lot of people are. Yeah, they're making good money.
That's not bad. I mean, if I was a kid making $1 lakh, I would be happy.
Yeah, I am.
Listen, I think in the middle of this pandemic, a lot of people, even adults, would be happy with $1 lakh a month.
I'm serious.
Yeah. No, because, as someone who doesn't, like I said, I don't game. So my only this thing in gaming is A, what I hear from you guys, and B, like what I see in the media, right? And there seems to be always a lot of, so either I'm seeing two things, either A, how expensive or how much money they're making, okay, like e-gaming or, this, or B, the horrible part of gaming. Like, you'll hear about these stories from South Korea, some dude will sit and play games for 36 hours and then drop dead. Or, people like, these moral panics, right, about gaming. Why do you, I mean, has gaming replaced rock music to that extent?
So I think that's a lot to do with the culture also, right? These also have, if you realize, most of these, especially these cultures where, people are sitting and playing 30, 40, 50 hours of gaming, are also the same culture that are also into working that many hours. Okay. If you, I mean, I'm not saying that there's any study done or something. I'm just drawing parallels here. Like, for example, Japan has a culture of people dying at the job because they've overworked so much. Similarly, South Korea works several hours, a lot. I mean, they're very hardworking people, more than they should be. Again, China also has the same culture of working, more hours than
that is healthy.
That is healthy, right? So, I mean, I haven't heard of any Indian guy sitting and gaming so long that he died, right?
Also, I don't know, it'll never get covered in India also.
Are you serious? I think the news will be all over it. They will be like, oh my God, you'll have Arnab.
It's aimed at people like me, like people who have no idea about gaming, who are like, I guess like the same kind of people who are scandalized by music at some point, right? They were like, oh my God, what is this thing? I don't understand. I must hate it.
Yeah, see, I think a lot of this also has to do with mental illness, and people have to. I mean, it just can't. You can't just blame gaming for this, right? There has to be an underlying issue that has causes. It's not just this guy gamed for so many hours and now he's going around murdering people. I mean,
dude, I'm sure there are lots of people who do 10 hours of gaming regularly and who are perfectly okay. I mean, some of it is also medical.
Like when the column in the US, I remember in the late 90s, early 2000s, even till very recently.
Forget US, even India. I mean, I think this was just last year. Somebody said that this kid was playing PUBG and then he went and killed someone. I mean, what is the parallel there, dude? Like, first of all,
correlation is not equal to causation.
Yeah. For that matter, I can say, like, people in Japan have the most violent games. I mean, that's the thing that's thrown around, right?
Like, he ate 3 gulab jamuns and then killed someone, and we should ban all gulab jamuns now.
So there is no correlation there. Just because.
Oh yeah, you know what? I found this story. So apparently, a Karnataka man, Shankar Devappa Kumbar, was murdered by his 21-year-old son Raghuveer because the father took the game away from him. So he got upset and he kind of like offed his daddy. I think the problem here was not necessarily with PUBG, but more like this guy himself.
Yeah, because you remember there were stories like this about TV
Yes.
also. Parent took away TV rights and then son killed father.
And TV serials and lots of things like this. I mean, everything that's new always is blamed, right? There's going to be like probably 10 years of blaming before it's accepted.
But you know what this guy did? He chopped off his father's head and then cut off one of his legs.
And you think that's what they do in PUBG? No, right? Oh. That's not what you do in PUBG. You just shoot them in the head.
I definitely don't think that this had anything to do with the game. I think this guy was just like a bit weird and needed help.
Yeah, he obviously needed help. And that's the thing, instead of saying, people with mental illness need help, you go around and say, he was playing games. That's what caused this. He was watching violent movies and now he's just going around killing people.
They drove him to madness.
Yeah, they drove it to madness. That's not what happens, right? I mean, we know enough about mental illness to know that's not what it is.
Exactly.
Man. Another thing that I wanted to, it's always the bad parts of gaming, like, that people talk about, I guess, because they're aimed at people who don't know any better. Just like people used to have these moral panics with movies or films or whatever. But there is a part of gaming that is quite toxic, right? Like, I remember, again, not directly involved because I don't game. But what was this Gamergate thing?
So okay. Fanboys are fanboys in gaming, which means they are boys, and they react very, very badly, especially with women gamers, people who are creating games also. So you'd have all this toxic male culture that happens. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. It definitely does happen. It does exist.
Sort of in the same range as sports.
It's the same range as sport fans. Take sports fans. These guys are more nerdier. That's all. But it is something that needs to be addressed. I think that there needs to be a culture shift where people need to accept that women also game as much as men do. Which is the case also right now, right? I think most of the women I know game in some form or the other. So I think it's just people accepting that women can also game and you don't have to be an asshole about it.
But it's the same. It's basically, again, it's because gaming was a male thing for the longest time.
Yeah. So a lot of games also target males. If you see, a lot of video games even now are very, very male oriented. Let's take Assassin's Creed for instance. I think only over the last 3 Assassin's Creed you could choose a woman, or I think last 2 that you could choose a woman as a lead character, or a gender neutral character. You couldn't do that before. Okay, there was no option to be a girl in Assassin's Creed. Okay, the same goes for other games as well. The Uncharted, Doom, Duke Nukem. These are all very, very male-centric characters. They speak a certain way. They are macho and gun-toting crazy guys. So a lot of people sort of associate themselves with it. Okay, so first of all, where we need to be more welcoming. Developers themselves need to be more welcoming towards women at the same time, and also gamers need to change their attitude. I mean, we're not in the dark ages where you can just like go, no, this is a male-centric thing. I'm not going to let anybody in. Like, no, dude, that doesn't work, right?
But I'm sure the culture, beyond the point, the culture will start changing, right?
It's just time. It has a little bit. I mean, I'm not saying that it hasn't. It has. People are this. In fact, there are pretty decent female representatives in the gaming culture in India also. YouTubers and stuff that are doing gaming in India. So, but again, they're a very small percentage, and unless they are encouraged to increase, I mean, again with games and with sort of, encouragement, I don't think that this will go away unless we all like say, it's okay to game for women as well. I mean, there's a lot. This is a lot to do with attitude.
Yeah.
People have the wrong attitude, I feel.
So where do you see, kind of like the last question, where we are where we are now, okay, in the sense that
also actually before we jump into the last question, there's one more thing I want to add about gaming, is that a lot of times we tend to sort of neglect the advantages of gaming on a physical sense, where there is actual research now. I mean, of course, there needs to be more research. There is some basic preliminary research now, how gaming helps problem solving, how gaming just helps the brain. Problem solving, focus, improving concentration, hand-eye coordination. There are even studies that say strangely enough, that gaming improves vision, your ability to identify colors.
Okay, maybe that, Vision? I wouldn't say.
yeah, I know. But so there are a fair amount of benefits to gaming. Like it's as good as exercise for the brain.
So I think
for a fact that even small games like Sudoku and
so the research for that is inconclusive, especially for these Sudokus and brain training exercises.
Oh really?
Yeah, the brain training ones don't actually. There is still controversy
around
but
that.
There is very clear research over games that are like
on video games. I think there is pretty decent research saying that it does help your brain in some ways. But I don't think medically is that sort of great a deal right now.
It's still there. That needs a fair amount of research.
It still needs
But there is some indication that it's not. In fact, it could be useful as opposed to being harmful.
I think where it could be useful is if you remember, we went for this VR experience. I had taken you along with me.
Yeah.
I think that. That's sort of, it would be a nice experience to sort of exercise in that mode, right? I'm telling you, like I played 1 hour of gaming with y'all and during those VR games. I got screwed the next 3 days because my legs were hurting.
Yeah, because physically, right? No, actually, the VR thing is also being used in studies for people with PTSD.
Yes. And people with missing limbs, the phantom limb syndrome.
Yeah. So it's actually quite helpful for a lot of people.
It's very helpful for a lot of people.
So gaming is good, guys. We just want to
and of course training. I mean, like what a simulator of any kind is a game only, essentially, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's a flight simulator or any kind of simulator, it's a game of.
And dude, the problem solving part of it, I have started gaming properly gaming over the last 6-8 months, and like I can sense my problem solving abilities feel better now.
So I recently saw this video of this lady rally driver. Okay, so she has this crazy good setup with I think Dirt 2 or something like that, one of the rally games. And she's basically, since she can't go out and participate in an actual rally, she's playing this game, and it is amazing to watch her. Amazing. I mean, every turn, this is just precisely done. It is crazy.
Oh man.
How good.
No. The future of motorsports is gaming. Like for instance, I remember back when I used to be an auto journalist. I got a chance to meet with a lot of drivers and riders, Formula 1 drivers and Formula 1 and like MotoGP riders and things like that. And all of them, you ask this question, how do you prepare for race day? And without a doubt, they're all telling you PS3 or PS4. Okay, because if you are playing a simulator, right, it allows you to memorize the track. Because these games, like for instance, if you are racing at say Spa or Monza or any one of these or Silverstone, the exact simulation of the track is in the game. So you're basically, if you can memorize the track, you are braking harder, you are braking later, you're accelerating, you're keeping your speed for a longer time. So all these guys are, in fact, with PlayStation 4, Nissan actually had a program where they found their new drivers for their Le Mans team based on 16-year-olds, based on this global competition they had, where they got 16-year-olds to like try out at these various consoles that they just set up in various places, in various like malls and things like that. And they picked up some 6 of them, and I think last year or year before last, a bunch of them made their debut. They actually went from console gaming to real life for Le Mans racing, which was quite something.
So I mean, yeah. So I mean, it's obviously useful, right?
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah.
So what was?
So where do you think like how do you see games like that VR experience you were talking about? I was there too, and I think that was outside of playing these dumb like Ludo and stuff on my phone. That was the only gaming experience I had in at least the last 15-18 years. Do you think that with VR gaming becoming more of a thing, like obviously now it's high end and expensive and inaccessible because of the equipment, do you think that gaming will become more?
It's also again it's going to remain expensive because it requires space. Okay. The thing with gaming on your phone right now is that it does not require space. So the day that happens,
and your phones are going to get better.
Yeah. So the day that happens with VR, it'll probably blow up. But right now, it's not going to blow up for a very long time.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, because I was again reading about watching one of these documentaries on Netflix about gaming, and with every subsequent generation, gaming has become easier and easier. Like back in the day, in the 70s, when you had to game, you needed to be a bit of a coder yourself
because you'd have to write the entire game.
Yeah. And then cut to today, where you literally like even earlier on, I remember in the 90s and in the early 2000s, you needed to be a little computer literate to play games on PC because you needed to know how your computer worked.
You needed to know basic DOS commands first of all. If you had a DOS machine, and before that, if you had like a Commodore 64 and all, you required a lot more than that.
Yeah. But do you see it becoming easier and easier?
It is easier now. Think about it. You just pick up a phone and you install the game and play it. You don't have to do anything.
I'm talking about like a real widespread access.
As far as I see it, I feel that a phone is real wide. Is very wide access.
Okay.
Because how are you going to get wider than that? I mean, I can't think of anything else.
Okay, maybe not widespread in that sense, but immersive.
Immersive will happen where VR technology in the future, if it becomes more compact, if it requires less space, then that will be more immersive. So
it's like that. What's that Google box thing that you can put on your mobile phone, and it feels like VR.
Oh, that's horrible. Google Cardboard.
It's horrible, I know, but it's an example of something cheap that could potentially, in the long run, maybe.
No, so that's Google Cardboard. So you have better things than that right now that do pretty much the same thing. But again, see, they still require space. They still, or if they don't require space, you're just sitting in one place and doing it. It's not that immersive.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So. Again, here the technology has to catch up with what you're thinking in your mind as immersive. What I feel is immersive is if you watch anime, a lot of these animes right now have these. For example, Sword Art Online has something called Nerve Gear, which is something that they just put on their head, and they lie down, and it just basically transports you to a different world. And you're using your brain to play the game. Okay. So unless something like that happens, you're not going to actually see VR gaming as a very mainstream thing for a very long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we'll wrap.
I think that pretty much covers up everything that we wanted to discuss. Gaming is great. Try it out. Enjoy yourself.
That is true.
And thank you, Jaison, for joining us.
Hey, my pleasure.
And showing the world how Vashi is the capital of Indian gaming.
Always has been.
And on that delightful note, thank you, Jaison. And before I end, If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We are IVM Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. Jason, your handles are?
Jaison Lewis on everything. That's Jason with an I.
On everything. Jaison, Jaison. Yeah, that's the Jason. Joel, your handles are?
I am Pereira Joel on Twitter and joelpereira.esq on Instagram.
All right. And I'm Yono K. Please on Twitter and Tushar _ on Instagram. Thank you for joining us, guys. See you next time. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Entertainment is like food for the brain. It's a window to culture and a great way to understand the world around us. The internet has changed what it means to be an entertainer, creating new storytellers with millions of fans. It has spawned a new breed, the story sellers, those behind the scenes creating the business for this ecosystem. They work with brands, platforms and channels who are keen to capitalize on an audience hungrier than ever for more stories. I'm Vineet Kanabar, and I have a ringside view to how stories are told and sold. On my show, I bring you creators, artists, executives and marketers for a freewheeling conversation around the business of entertainment. Tune in to Storytellers and Story Sellers for personal stories, analysis and criticism every Thursdays as I talk to the brightest minds telling or selling great stories today.
रिश्ते में तो हम तुम्हारे पॉडकास्ट लगते हैं. नाम है फुटबॉल शुटबॉल.
Presenting Football Shortball, a show about three friends discussing our favorite game over a beer. Sometimes 3, maybe even 5. Hi, I'm Shiva, and with me are my two sidekicks, Gaurav Sapre and Karthik Iyer.
Sidekick? You mean like Batman's Robin or Van Persie Robin?
No, I mean like Alexis Sanchez, but with a little more skill than just playing the piano.
Ha! Just shows how the best players at Arsenal are mere bench warmers at United.
Oh, thank you, Iyer. But you're a Fulham supporter, so whenever you say anything to support me, I question my beliefs.
Just like how Griezmann would say, एक बार मैंने जो decision ले लिया, तो मैं अपने आप की भी नहीं सुनता.
Banter aside, we will talk match reports, transfer rumors, top controversies, fantasy football picks, and so much more. So grab a beer and tune in to Football Shortball every Wednesday on the IVM Podcast app, website, or wherever you get your podcasts.